What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. Thank you for joining. You probably know by now Terry McAuliffe concedes the Virginia governor's race to Glenn Youngkin, so it's over. And I don't live in Virginia, and this is the most I've ever cared about Virginia politics, just as a bellwether of where are we at. And I'm in a weird place. I'm not a Republican. I don't even know if I'm a Glenn Youngkin fan. I just feel like the left, the establishment, has pushed me to anyone who's not them. I don't know if I lived in Virginia if I would have voted for Youngkin or not. I definitely wouldn't have voted for Terry McAuliffe. That's for damn sure. He was a mess. But it's just we're in a weird place, and I watched the coverage, and this is what really stood out to me. I mean, I don't know. For the lack of a better term, I can't. I feel hurt. I've listened to Nicolle Wallace for years. I listened to her before she got her own TV show. I think she's great. She worked under Bush. I don't go into things looking at, okay, she's a leftist establishment that worked for Bush. I'm not going to like her. That's not how I just go by. What are you saying? I don't even know sometimes who people are, but if they say something that resonates, I can say that resonates with me. Nicolle Wallace has been great on TV. I think she's great on TV, but it's just ever since Trump, things have gotten so weird. This win by Youngkin is a rebuke against what you've been saying, what you've been doing. It's a clear message. It's a clear message that people don't like what you're forcing down their throat. And as it's happening, they're still forcing it down their throat. I always think about when my first son was young, I didn't know how to bottle feed him. And I was bottle feeding him, and the milk, or it was formula or breast milk, whatever, would come out of the sides of his mouth. And then one point, I think it was my wife was finding like, you're feeding him too much. What are you doing? The milk's coming out of his mouth. You're force feeding him. You're gonna drown him. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And that's what it feels like. And this part right here is what really I don't know why. It really hurt me because I've watched Nicolle Wallace a lot. I think very highly of her, and just like a lot of people since Trump, they've gone completely off the deep end. They was totally different before Trump. I wouldn't have always agreed with her, but I wouldn't. This stuff didn't happen before Trump. This right here. She was just on, and she mentioned critical race theory is not. It's not even real. Just casually said critical race theory isn't real.
Is that critical race theory, which isn't real, turned the suburbs 15 points.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? Why would you even say that? You know, outside of I have a real job. This is just a hobby, like a side hobby, this YouTube thing, and it's really allowed me to use time to focus on these issues in more in depth than I normally would. So there's times I'm out at the playground with the kids and they're playing around, and I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm listening to an audio book. I'm listening to a Ibram X. Kendi book, or Kimberly Crenshaw, or I'm listening to New Disclosures by James Lindsay or Christopher Rufo, just to get all these different pieces and sides of the puzzle. And for someone to go on TV and tell me it's not even real without having any type of legitimate conversation or even acknowledging the concerns of parents, like, even if you don't think it's real, do a town hall with like real discussion. A lot of this is coming down to semantics. They're saying critical race theory isn't real because it's a legal discussion. Damn it, that's not what we're saying. There's things in school, there's things that we're seeing that are concerning, and you don't talk about it. So all that time I spend researching and trying to educate myself on this topic, and to hear somebody say, this is the classic definition of gaslighting. For her to say it's not real, I can almost look at it and say they're doubling down on it. It's to say I am an idiot. It's to say I'm insane. That's what that's to say. It's no different than saying I saw a ghost. No, ghosts aren't real. That's exactly what they're doing. I I think I hope I do hope that the establishment changes their tune, but they're not. One of the best bellwethers of where the establishment is Jemele Hill, Nicole Hannah Jones. What is their relevance? What is their prominence? Jemele Hill came out today harder, stronger than ever. She came out with a tweet, I'm going to paraphrase, saying, there's nothing wrong with the messaging. White supremacy is winning, or white supremacy is, America just loves white supremacy. That's the takeaway after we see signs that there's going to be a red wave. I mean, I did research on this the first time, and I'm just going to talk. There's more than critical race theory. New Jersey, the results being closer than they thought in New Jersey, it really comes down to lockdowns and people speaking out against that. So it's more than critical race theory. But let's talk about critical race theory for a second. Nicolle Wallace says it's not real. I didn't know what it was. The first time I knew what it was that story in Loudoun County. The first time I was still on Facebook at that time before I removed. I think my Facebook account is removed now, other than I have a stuck in the middle one that I don't use a lot. But my personal one is removed, and I was still on Facebook at the time, I think. And I think it was teachers in a school in Loudoun County were putting together some kind of hit list of parents who had concerns about the curriculum. And I'm like, that's weird. What is that? And they were bringing up critical race theory. This has been going on for quite some time before that. But I'm like, that's weird. They're putting together a hit list. And then it just snowballed from there. You know what happened in Loudoun County. It just snowballed to the point where Obama is saying that Obama is doing the same thing Nicolle Wallace is saying this is not real. Meanwhile, one of the most heinous acts that can happen to humans happened in the school, and that was real. That was real as a heart attack. And you have people saying, no, it's not real. Well, then, okay, if that's not real, then talk about what is. I'm going to end with this. I'm just trying to get my thoughts out there. That's my big picture of this. This is a rebuke against all that kind of stuff. We see the crime in San Francisco. I don't know if that played a role in Virginia, but it's playing a role where I'm thinking about where I'm at locally. Crime in San Francisco. We're seeing videos out of Chicago. They're lifting just in broad daylight, just not even hurrying, not even rushing. They're just taking their time stealing cigarettes. This is all stemming from critical race theory. But here's my takeaway. A little bit of my faith is restored because we were talking on Twitter like, oh no, are they going to do the stuff after midnight type of stuff? Even though it looked like the districts that were the votes were coming in were heavy for Youngkin, I didn't know why they didn't call it. It took them a long time to call it. I was like, I don't know if they're going to call it or not. We don't know what's going to happen. If Democrats, if you don't see leftists, Democrats and Republicans, if you don't see them change it's mostly Democrats, if you don't see them change their messaging like Jemele Hill from this white supremacy, not doubling down on that, if you don't see that change, then I still say they know something we don't know. And the only thing that I can think of is the filibuster. I don't even know if they have enough votes to get rid of it, but it seems like they think they do. To get rid of the filibuster, usher in new election laws that override the state laws, and then that means you can pump in the mail-in voting and do ballot harvesting. You can do ballot harvesting in any state with some of this legislation that they're trying to force through. So Republicans could do it, Democrats could do it, but this typically helps the establishment, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Yesterday for the red wave is conflicting because I think it's good. I don't trust all the Republicans, but this is the message that had to be sent. Let me know what you think. Take care.